This right here gonna be a cakewalk.
Is this how you thought it would go? Not at all. Not at all. By every metric. When I say not at all, I mean by every metric. So let's take it back a little bit, right? When I started my channel, Fakam was basically a couple of months from releasing. That's when, well, my channel has existed prior to that. I used to upload like Call of Duty stuff and like just random sporadic videos. You know how people just have a YouTube channel and they just jump like nonsense on it? That's what I used to do. I used to just dump like nonsense on the channel. But when I really started like to commit to Tekken and uploading, it was right before the release of Fakam. And at that point in time, I had no clue what I was doing. I just knew that I wanted to make Tekken or YouTube videos, and Tekken is what I decided, right? And I had so much hope for the franchise and so much passion. And the real motivator to start my channel was seeing Launch Leroy and how much of a stain he was on Tekken. At that point in time, I felt like Tekken was doing so good because we were riding off a high point, right? Season 2 was great, right? And then Leroy released, and he was one of the most broken characters to ever exist. And I felt like I had to speak up as to why this is bad for the franchise and how things should be, how he should be tweaked to make better, right? And then I kind of slowly started to move in a direction of talking about what's coming next because Fakram released and he was also super overpowered as well. So then the conversation was like, and at the same time, Zafina started to dominate tournaments, right? Arsenal Nash. So then it was like this weird thing where you have all of these new pay to win DLC characters show up and they're all corrupting and consuming what Tekken 7 was, and they're turning Tekken 7 into a bad game. The reason why people can say Tekken 7 is a bad game and like, feel good about themselves is because of the pay to win DLC. It's because of everything that happened after season 3, right? And I was trying to highlight how Tekken is falling off its wagon. But also I was trying to highlight the good things that they did in the past, talking about story, talking about just anything I can think about or run across or whatever, right? Um, Talking about character motivations, the story, rivalries. There was a lot of discussions being had there. Um, and when Tekken 8, I probably was one of the first people to start talking about Tekken 8 just because of how I before Tekken 8 came out, I was making videos about Tekken 9. I was talking about the story and what could happen in Tekken 9. That's how you know I was yapping, right? But I was talking about the future because I was so excited for it. The reason why I felt like I had all of these ideas for what would happen in Tekken 8, and I wanted to go even further and theorize on what Tekken 9 would be, right? So that's all like inspirational, positive, love for the franchise and talking about how it can move, right? And you know, when Tekken 8 was being released and marketed, it was nothing but positivity there. And people forget that era. When I was talking about I used to talk so highly of Tekken 8. People used to call me a shill. People forget about that. That era literally existed. I used to be so in love with, Tekken, and I was called a shill for like the way that I used to talk about it. And when Tekken 8 released, it took a while, a long time, for me to finally start seeing that this game has horrible flaws. But also too, I didn't like. I remember I had an immediate gut reaction to not liking Yoshimitsu. The way that Yoshimitsu was in Tekken 8, I just didn't like it because I felt like it was too simple. I felt like it was just the word that they use is streamlined, and I felt that. I felt my lack of ability to express myself. Being a Yoshimitsu player, because Yoshimitsu was kind of always this character who had a lot of experimentation and expression, right? Like for Kazuya, you do get a lot of experimentation there, but it kind of boils down into waifu mix-ups, right? Yoshimitsu was a character who didn't have one powerful thing he could rely on, and he had to really like figure it out, right? And in Tekken 8, I felt like the developers figured out a lot of the stuff for us, and all you had to do was follow this chart, and it would work. But even then, those concerns were very small back then. And over time it grew. But what really like skyrocketed that feeling to the forefront was realizing how powerful he was. And at the start of it, I was very against it. I was like, no, Yoshimitsu's not that powerful. No, Yoshimitsu's this. And it was just because I couldn't comprehend the fact that the game and the character has changed so much. And once I started to really understand that and process that information, I started to really look at how far Tekken has changed. And it all fell apart from there, right? It just fell apart in the sense that, Tekken 8 really did a lot to remove the uniqueness of players in pursuit of streamlined gameplay, because they're making everything super easy and everything's like, you just follow this path. But when everyone's following the same path, it's very boring and it's very same. It's very, predictable, right? And that's another reason why tournaments can never be exciting, because when everyone's doing the same flow chart, you don't have that wow factor. You don't have that random moment, right? So that's why them streamlining to this level to this level is also bad, because it makes everything predictable and flowcharty, right? Like how Speedkicks was saying that he's not even smiling anymore when he's bullying players, because what he's doing is what all of us is doing is so effective, and it's going to work. Before you even start the match, what you do against your opponent will work, and they won't be able to stop it. And also, they know the same thing. And it basically boils down to who can force mix up the opponent first. That's what it comes down to, right? So I'm losing a little bit track of what the original question was, or the idea was. But I do just think that Tekken has came a long way in terms of reducing and restricting. And the sad part is that the developers don't see it that way. The developers don't see it as reducing and restricting. They see it as accessible and stuff like that, right? Simplification, and but it's the opposite, and not even for just pros or veterans or legacy. It's also for casuals. Even though people used to button mash, that button mashing was their own experimentation. And that button mashing, all of us button mashed at one point in time. And from that button mashing, we figure out which moves we like, we figure out which moves work, we figure out which moves, we just figure it out. And then we move from there. We all have developed into our own players, right? With our own styles. In this new era where everything is streamlined, you literally button mash 333 with Eddie, 222. In that era, what are the players going to develop into? That's the biggest question that I have. Is like the players who are brand new in Tekken 8 and they are, button mashing 3-3-3-3. We don't know what that player is doing in 4 years, in 5 years, in 10 years. We don't know what is their style like. We know what being just a normal button mash and scrub turns into. It turns into all of us with our unique play styles. But when everyone is trying to forcibly play one type of Tekken, what does that translate into? What does that expand into? What does it evolve into? I feel like these changes are very short-sighted, and it's a lot of ways you could break down what the developers are doing, and none of them is good. None of them.